So the quarterfinals for the North American and European LCSs have all concluded right now. And this year, not only have the games been largely just like one-sided in terms of the series overall, really uncompetitive, they've also developed in very unexpected ways. I've already talked about the Fnatic and Vitality final in another video, and with some other scheduled things that have come up, I didn't get on to do an individual piece on the Cloud9 TSM from yesterday. So instead, I'm just going to talk about Cloud9 TSM, Energy and Liquid, and then Origin and Unicorns of Love, all in this video. I'm going to try and keep it brief. I don't want this to be like a 30-minute video. So let's go ahead and start with Cloud9 and TSM. So the expectations coming into this series was for Cloud9 to take it probably rather dominantly. Jensen's been looking like one of the best mid laners within North America. Rush has finally seemed to have been synergizing with the team, being able to, and the team's been supporting him. Balls has been manageable at times. Sneaky's, again, looked like one of the better North American AD carries. You know, a consistent carry force, but not like a true carry in that sense. And then High, while his support pool has been limited, he's been able, like, what the strategy and the team play that he brings into Cloud9 has been invaluable to them. On the other side, there was Team Solo Mid. It's the veteran super team squad that has been floundering throughout most of the regular season. Its macro shot calling has been abysmal throughout pretty much the entirety of the season, and rather shockingly so, and it has something to do with how the team is being organized. And coming into this matchup, it seemed like Cloud9 was going to handily beat this over Team Solo Mid. I'm trying to fight a sneeze right now. I think I'm going to power through it. But in the off chance, well, during the 2 weeks of preparation that they had, TSM was able to bring in Mind Games Weldon. He's the sports psychologist, most notable for being there through CLG's claim to the first place championship in summer last year. They were able to bring him in since Ember, the team that he was coaching, fell apart, disbanded, all that jazz. And it apparently had a remarkable improvement. In the first game, it looked like it went how we expected. Cloud9 played this double global composition and just bodied TSM pretty much. Ended the game in 25 minutes, a very concise victory. But then coming into the next series, Cloud9 started to have like these really horrible drafts. They stimmied away from the playstyle that they had before. They brought in the Orianna pick for Jensen. Balls wasn't getting onto his gangplank. They stimmied away from that, and they were making these incredibly weird choices within it. And then TSM, on the other side of things, started to massively improve. Ferguson was suddenly back on playmaking carries. He played Zed into Jensen's Orianna, and it was a fantastic performance. I mean, it was like what we used to see from Bjergsen back when he first came into the NALCS when he was wrecking kids. Doublelift was able to also have a very good series. Svenskeren as well came alive. He was given Italy in game 2, and that completely changed everything for the series. Gotta stop touching my face. That changed pretty much everything, and ever since he got his hands on Italy, Svenskeren kind of played like the Svenskeren that we used to see when he was on SK Gaming. The Svenskeren that we expected to see in the regular season. It was like he came out of hibernation. I saw that joke on Twitter. And so suddenly TSM individually was performing better as Cloud9 was beginning to perform worse. Balls was being exploited for what he was. Hauntzer, he was hit and miss for Team Solo Mid, but his plays made up for his mistakes. Rush kept on sticking with Kindred, and he had a very good first game on Kindred, and then after that, it was pretty painful. He kept on walking into the enemy jungle when his lanes didn't have pressure, when they were being pressured instead. It was pretty awful Kindred play, both from Rush individually as well as how Cloud9 played around it. And Rush just had ultimately a very terrible series outside of game 1 when he said that, hey, I can play Kindred, JK. So that was another depressing season. Playoff showing from Rush. This is the second time that he's shown up really strong in the regular season, and then playoffs come around and he just comes absolute crap. On Team Impulse, he played Nunu for some reason when, I mean, it was not his style, wasn't what he was doing to win. This time he brought a new pick, but then he was very rigid. He didn't deviate from that pick at all, and his play on that champion just looked bad in general. And then once Cloud9 started to fall behind, they just weren't able to come back into the game. people talked about their vision control. That definitely lacked within that case. And once Cloud9 fell behind and didn't have the vision to create the proactive plays to get back into the game, that was a very big issue for the team. And it's a really disappointing run from Cloud9. Really shows like the weaknesses of the roster. And once again, I think that we're stuck in a reality where Cloud9 is both enabled by High and limited by High. This time from the support role. They're enabled by him because he brings in this very crucial team element within the team where suddenly they're able to coordinate together. They have High basically thinking and breathing for everyone on the team, coordinating the fights, coordinating the plays. But the downside of that is that his individual play as a support isn't that strong. His champion pool is very limited. His in-game impact on certain picks is very lackluster, and his vision control is substandard. He had the lowest warding totals and wards cleared per minute in the entire NALCS. So I'd have to look into that again, but that's some of the talk that happened there. So his team element again is very strong. His shot calling is very good, but his individual performance within the role that he's playing is not going to be like what other teams need to be. I think it's time, and what we're seeing now is that even though Cloud9 does have like these really strong players, I think it's time for them to really have a big shakeup, and I think that the shakeup has to come. Probably start with replacing Balls. He's been again terrible. He's had flashes of good games, but looking at those games, it seems more like the team just is bodied by Cloud9 as a whole, and they don't play properly around it, and so Balls is able just to look good in comparison. But individually, he does not step up. When the weight is on him to carry, he isn't stepping up. What else is there? I think you could start there, and then once you get a top lane that you can play around that's very good for the team, and then maybe you can look to get High going on in. High does need to be replaced at some point. The team needs to be able to have an actual support player in that position to hold it up while somehow getting someone else to take over the shot calling duties for Cloud9. I don't know how that is going to occur. This is something that is very limited. But once again, Cloud9 has a ceiling, and unfortunately, that ceiling isn't good enough to win all of NA anymore. In fact, it went out of quarterfinals. That being said, though, if Team Solo Mid somehow go on to win the entire thing with Mind Games Weldon helping out in the back scene, then we can probably come back and revisit this narrative. Although, again, with how dominant TSM was after Game 1, that's, again, Cloud9 has a ceiling. So TSM is showing up very surprisingly. They've had synergy that we've expected after all this time. And, Bjergsen, it was nice to see Bjergsen back on Playmakers. Double Lift would perform pretty well in the series. Hanser, very strong, very good. And Svenskeren finally woke up. So there you go. So that was that matchup. Then today's games, let's talk about Origin versus Unicorns of Love first. So Unicorns of Love, we kind of expected that they wouldn't look so good because the jungle roster changes that they've gone through ever since Diamond Prox can't play anymore because his country won't give him a visa really fucking sucks. No other way to say it. That really has brought Unicorns UL's level down with them, and their macro performance has really faltered since. It looked like a very strong team at the start of the season. Now it's not the case at all, which is pretty depressing to say the least. It's rather unfortunate because it's something that's out of their hands. Their one of the players that was crucial to their development can't play the game anymore. Fox and Steelback both had really good seasons, but they were sort of like cleanup players, I think. Not really like, I'll put the team on back and I'll carry. If you look at Steelback's performances and Sven's performances, they both have really good KDAs, but Sven is able to navigate team fights better. He's able to take risks, start fights for his team, still come out ahead and make these outplays, whereas Steelback kind of is a bit safer in the fights. So that was a direct comparison in the matchup. So when Lulux came in, Lulux, he was the weak link on H2K last year, so again, it wasn't really much of an upgrade. Vizichachi played really horribly throughout the series, and he was one of Unicorns Love's best players, and I think that he's kind of like Cabochard. The shift from carry top laners to tank top laners might have affected him somewhat. He looked uncomfortable on Poppy, but, that was in that one game. Maybe it was playoff nerves, although I don't think he should have that. He's played in playoffs before, but, who knows what's going on within, the team and their mindset, or how the coaching staff is able to do that. So then we're going to have Origin coming on in. Again, they also look very weak. Sven's been the one bright spot on the team. Soaz has been very, very bad throughout most of the season. Amazing as well has had his ups and downs. Power of Evil has come on in, and he's been very lackluster, and he was fairly lackluster in this final as well. His Oriana play in particular, which is champion that he was good on before, looked pretty bad in this series again. But, I mean, Sven looked as strong as ever, and that was enough for Origin to win and take the series over. What's one thing to note with this series is how close it actually was, and this is something that I think really shows that Origin's probably not going to get out of the semifinals. Is that game one I think was pretty concisely in Origin's favor, but games 2 and 3 there was a lot of back and forth around it. There was a lot of poor shot calling and poor decision making being made, and some of the fights were pretty close. So when Origin goes up against, I think it's going to be G2. No, wait. H2K, that's right, because Fnatic is going up against G2 and then H2K versus Origin. When they go up against H2K, first off, that's going to be a very hype matchup because you have Sven and Forgiven, two of the best AD carries in Europe, probably the West as well. That's just an exciting matchup in and of its own. But then everywhere else, it really goes heavily into H2K's favor. Vander and Jankos have been better than Mithy and Amazing. Ryu's been better than Power of Evil on account of Power of Evil being as bad as he is, and same thing for Auto Omni and Soaz. And then H2K's macro control and shot calling has been probably the best within Europe. So Origin having like this very frustrating macro time against Unicorn's Love doesn't bode well when it's going up against what's probably going to be the EU LCS champions and the best macro team in all of Europe. So that's where you have it. Then when we come to... I think that was that series wrapped up. It was a very messy series, but Origin 3-0'd it. Unicorns Love just not being able to put up that much of a fight. Not enough proactive carry forces on the squad. Visit Chachi underperforming in this series. Lulex being Lulex. Heelsang also having a bit of an offhand series. And Sven being too good. And then we have the series in NA that just wrapped up, Team Liquid versus NRG. Now, there's been a bit of debate about this, Liquid's been looking really good, NRG's been largely inconsistent, but now it's playoff time, there's a lot of rookies in the squads. I think there was 5 rookies total was the count, maybe it was 6, let me count. We had Lorlo, Matt Dardoch, 3 from Liquid, Quan, and Moon. So, 5 of those players were rookies. There we go. Well, I mean, I could have said 5 veterans and been accurate, but not in reference to those 5 players. So you had 5 rookies, and that was the big question mark, is that, okay, we've seen people who have looked really good in the regular season, and then when it comes to playoffs, they just underperform massively. Link is probably the most popular example, formerly of Counterlogic Gaming. I think he's still a part of the organization, but he just isn't playing for the team anymore. And then, what's another good example? Gravity. Was it summer last year? Yeah, summer last year. They had a really good regular season, but once it came to quarterfinals, then it all fell apart for them. So we had that question, like, okay, is Liquid's players, are their star players who are rookies going to be underperforming in here? How are, GBM and Impact, they're, clutch players, they show up in the playoffs. How is that going to play out? That was sort of the question, and the answer was, all right, Team Liquid wasn't even phased by playoffs. They cleanly 3-0'd NRG. Game 3 was a bit of a back and forth, but once they got control of it, it went really well. One thing to note with NRG is that their pick and bans as well as compositions have been really wild and all over the place. They've done these really weird decisions when it comes into it. Like in the first 2 games, they let Kalista and Azir through in game 1. Okay, that's fine. They got Rafa covered by it. Game 2, they left Azir and Kalista open again. And we know that Phoenix is like the best, that's his best champion is Azir. So letting Phoenix, who has historically had a smaller champion pool, have his best champion that GBM is losing lane to when you already have a losing bottom lane matchup, that's not what should be happening within this case. I think it's time that we really start to question like how good the coaching staff of NRG actually is. And this is namely a call out on Hermit. Unfortunately, we all praised him a lot for Origin's run at Worlds, but he's coming on in here, and now he's had a really rough season with some weird composition choices. He's had a very bad playoff run here. Starting to question how much impact he actually had in the Origin tournament. People have bad days, yeah, but he's had a bad split, so I don't know anymore. And then also, but we can't put it all on him. The players themselves have also been really have been really lackluster. Impact is nowhere near the form that he had last season. GBM, while he's been good, just doesn't win lane like he needs to. And then Alltech and Conquan have been absolute trash this season. This is Alltech's worst season that we've probably ever seen from him. This is a guy who's been considered one of the best local North American talents for a couple of years now, and he's looked like shit. Let's be honest. He's looked abysmal this season. I don't know what happened to him. That happened there. And then Moon as well has been really underwhelming. He's had the worst impact of any jungler within the entire league. And I feel like that's an element of NRG that needs to be reevaluated and looked at, because when you think about GBM and Impact, they've come from teams previously that had really strong junglers. So in the case of Impact, he had Rush on Team Impulse. Rush was the rookie of the split in that summer season. He looked amazing in the regular season, and him and Impact were a great combination just to get Impact ahead so he can take control of the game. GBM side, he had Chaser on Jin Air. Chaser was considered probably maybe the best individual jungler in Korea in 2015. And, you know, again, a great carry jungler performance, and he and GBM could work really well together. And now that they're coming into the NRG and they have this jungler who isn't helping either of them out, I think it's hurting their overall laning because they're not getting the assistance and the support that they used to get. Maybe the same case with Alltech and Conquan, but I can't remember too much of their history to really evaluate that. Well, Alltech's history, Conquan being a rookie. Hopefully I'm remembering that right. If I'm wrong, being exposed. And then Liquid, we have to really praise Liquid here in this case. I think Loco Doku is showing that he's been really strong as a coach, that TSM losing faith in him and having that disjunct. Although, that being said, you have to have the right coach with the right team. Everyone has to gel together and work together as a unit. So with the egos on TSM last year, maybe it just didn't work for Loco once things started to go bad. We've seen that TSM has had issues integrating coaches before. Who knows, maybe the sports psychology is actually going to help them. But a lot of things have really gone right for Team Liquid when you think about it. So first off, you know, we can look at their top laner, Lorlo, and say, okay, he can only play tank junglers. Well, tanks are meta. Everyone's just playing tanks. He doesn't have to worry about these aggressive 1v1 duelists now that he's got to contain in the side lane because everybody's just grouping up for team fights. Team fighting being something that Team Liquid really wants to do as well, both considering Phoenix's and Piglet's play styles within there. They've gotten Dardoch, who has shown up to be a fantastic rookie. He's the rookie of the split. That's a very big, you know, if they've helped develop him and form him into that, that's really good. If he was that great talent on his own, he just came on in, he was instantly good. It's really lucky for Team Liquid. Matt as well, he was also a rookie coming in. He's had a really good season. He's been able to make picks, start fights, peel for the team like he needs to be. It's a really good showing from him. So Team Liquid, and then, so we have the top lane going right. We have the new players performing really well for Team Liquid, doing their jobs and even like being the best of their positions in some cases. And then also Azir is back in the meta. That's like Phoenix's best champion. So the fact that that's back and that's not being taken away from him, it's pretty good for them. That's a lot of things going right for Liquid at the time of playoffs. And even with that shift in meta, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a very close series against CLG and actually win against CLG, just because CLG's, you know, when you think about how CLG win, it was all Darshan solo carry split push in the lanes while the team kind of clunkily team fights together. Now that everybody has to team fight, Zion Spartan, Darshan, has historically been fairly mediocre at team fighting. So now that the meta is all about team fighting, CLG could very well lose to Team Liquid in the upcoming playoff series, I think. We'll have to see how that actually goes. Again, Stixay has been fairly solid. He's been okay. Smithy's been having a really good season as well. So we'll have to see how that plays out, but I think it's actually going to be a very competitive semifinal. To hit up on the other semifinals, I think that Origin is going to get wrecked by H2K. Maybe they can take a game off of them. Again, H2K's macro play, the superior quality of the players at each position so far is going to be great. And again, I mean, Origin just looked too shaky against Unicorn's Love for me to really think that Origin has a chance. Fnatic into G2. Fnatic did look cleaner against Vitality, but I also think Vitality just really played bad. They drafted bad. Cowboy Short got dicked by the meta changes. And we'll have to see how G2 handles it. I mean, Kikis is going to be absolutely fine with it. I think Trick is going to be amazing at it. So I think that it could be a messy series as well, but ultimately I think G2 is going to be the one to take it as well. And it could be a 3-0, but, you know, who really knows with Fnatic at this point? So, but I'm going to have to give it to G2. For North America, Immortals versus Team Solo Mid. This is the big question mark for me because I know that, you know, Hooney's been incredible, Rainover's been incredible. I mean, can't argue with that. You know, and we'll have to see if TSM can wake up and really play at that level because they're going to have to play at a level to make it a close series. If TSM can play like they did in games 2, 3, and 4 against Immortals, then it's going to be a very competitive series. It's going to be a really exciting one, actually. Bjergsen, if he's able to step up like he did before and he gets onto those assassin picks, I think it can expose Pobelter in this series, really kind of mess with Pobelter. It seems like TSM's having a healthier communication and team environment with just all the help that they've been getting. And so I think it could be a competitive series. We'll have to see just how Immortals handle it and whether or not TSM can beat the buff and shield the Wild Turtle frontline strategy that really happens on through. So we'll have to see how that develops within this case. But I think it's actually going to be a very competitive series. I am going to give it to Immortals, though. They looked incredible throughout the season. No one's been really able to beat their strategy. And TSM just woke up against the series against Cloud9. And on top of that, Cloud9 looked abysmal in that series. So looking good against someone who's looking terrible really detracts from how you look, really, about how well you look. So that's my thoughts on the finals here, or the playoffs rolling on through with the LCS series. If you wanted to know my thoughts about the Vitality and Fnatic series, I posted a video there for already. Thank you for all tuning in. Catch you all later.